Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here in a Borderlands 3 video, and today we are finally showing off the build that I've been teasing. I teased it in the Sea Monster Moze video. This build is absolutely insane. It does bossing extremely well, better than most other Vault Hunters, and does mobbing extremely well. It is absolutely crazy. It cheeses Mayhem 10. Before we get into the skill tree and everything you guys need to know, real quick, 62% of my viewers are not subscribed, guys. If you are enjoying the content and the videos and the builds, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, guys. With that, let's get into the video. Alright, guys, so right now on the screen for you guys is the skill tree. Now, you will notice at first glance, it's a weird skill tree. This build is a no capstone Moze build. It is extremely strong, and I really believe that this is the best way to do it. Now, we're making a lot of really smart decisions here, guys, and before we talk about all of our skill tree decisions, I want to talk real quick about our class mod. Now, we are using a Minesweeper class mod. This is a very versatile build in that we mainly use the Minesweeper. This build works amazingly well with the Sapper class mod, so if you guys are struggling to stay alive, you could switch over to the Sapper class mod, which I do sometimes, and it works with the Blastmaster, but this is primarily a Minesweeper build. Now, in this new update, they introduced us with some amazing weapons that work extremely strong with Minesweeper. Those weapons mainly being the Chaosin and the Sandhawk. The reason these weapons are so strong is because they have very high fire rate, they have very high pellet count, and they do splash elemental damage and put out great damage. Now, the Sandhawk is going to fire 9 bullets at a time. Now, if you haven't seen my videos covering the Minesweeper, I have a full detailed explanation up there for you guys right now. But basically, when we land a crit, it drops a micro grenade that explodes. This micro grenade is going to take on all of our splash damage bonuses, and it triggers off of the amount of damage. So the more damage that we can do to a critical hit, the more damage that the actual grenade will do. So we're trying to get as much damage as we possibly can to proc the biggest grenades. Now, the Sandhawk is amazing for this because you can hit 9 pellets on someone's head, and you're almost guaranteed to get grenades. These grenades that are going to be proccing are going to be so strong that they'll basically murder any Mayhem 10 enemy, as you guys saw in the clips. Another awesome weapon that we're using is the Chaosin, or Chaosun, not sure how to pronounce this, but this weapon is really amazing with this because it has multiple impacts. Now, we have a ×2 one, this is the same one I used in the Chaos Queen Amara video. It's going to hit 2 projectiles. These 2 projectiles both have a chance to proc Minesweeper, and then those 2 projectiles then have a delayed explosion that each one then has another chance to proc Minesweeper. If you're landing crits with this, for every trigger pull, you have 4 chance. You're going to shoot 4 pellets, 25% chance to proc Minesweeper. You're basically going to be proccing Minesweeper every single shot, which is incredible. And because of these weapons and the amount of times that we're going to be proccing Minesweeper, we get great sustain from Vampire and amazing damage output. Now, those are the main weapons. This build works really well with the Monarch, works well with the OPQ system, it works well with the Anarchy. There's a lot of things that you guys could use. It is a very versatile build, but the two best weapons that I've found are the Kyozit and the Sandtalk. Now, let's talk about our skill tree, and then we'll go over the rest of the gear and the best anointments for you guys. So, skill tree, fire in the Skag Den. We're doing splash damage. Whenever we do the splash damage, we're going to get bonus incendiary. Super, super awesome. Great pickup there. Means of destruction. Whenever we do splash damage, we're going to get grenades back. Now, this isn't a very grenade spammy build because of the amount of times that we proc Minesweeper grenades. That's why we have a little bit less points in Vampire, and so that we can fully cap out or fully go to our red tree to get experimental munitions. But you do need to throw a little bit of grenades, not too many to stay alive. And if you are ever having survivability problems, we can switch over to a Sapper class mod. Now the Sapper is going to give us lifesteal. We're doing so much damage that we're able to heal very quickly. And it's also going to give us points into magazine size, which we're not spec'd into, to give us better Sandhawk sustain and Chaosin sustain. So super awesome option there. Very, very versatile build. Next up, we're going Toward Cross Promotion. Now, your Minesweeper, you're going to be looking for a 4 Toward Cross Promotion, 1 Redistribution. Minesweeper Toward Cross Promotion got recently buffed. It now gives a crazy amount of splash damage bonus. Plus 54 splash damage is incredible. Now, this is going to apply not only to the weapons we're using, but it also boosts the damage of our grenades. This is incredible because we're doubling up on our damage on both the grenades and our weapons, and is why you're going to be looking for a 4 in this. Very, very strong. Auto Bear, you don't really need it, but while Auto Bear is out, we can proc Vampire, we can proc some other really cool skills, and it's going to be debuffing things. So 1 point, it was fine. Pull the Holy Pin, we need Pull the Holy Pin. Without Pull the Holy Pin, the Minesweeper grenades cannot crit, and so we need Pull the Holy Pin. And lastly, Vampire is our sustain off of our Minesweeper grenades, and we're mainly using the Cloning Maddening Tracker. You can swap it out for an ASE anoint if you'd like. That's totally fine. Sorry, I got some weird grenades on me at the moment, but if you want to go ASE, or a Cloning Maddening Tracker with ASE is great, or on Grenade Throw is also amazing. The reason on Grenade Throw is great is because it's going to increase our weapon damage and our grenade damage. Our grenade damage applies to our Minesweeper, so we're going to get grenade damage there. We got grenade damage on our class mod, splash damage, or splash damage. It allows these Minesweeper grenades to hit for millions and millions and millions of damage every single time you proc them. And now, next up, we're going into Armored Infantry for gun damage, damage reduction, just a nice pickup, and then Drowning in Brass. Now, Drowning in Brass is what we're picking up for instead of Short Fuse. Short Fuse is great, it's nice, it's going to give us that secondary gun explosion, 75% of our gun damage. It is great, it's a little bit more consistent to grab Drowning in Brass. Now, if you want to grab Short Fuse and go less points into this tree, you totally can. But Drowning in Brass is an amazing mobbing ability. It's going to decrease our fire rate, which is also nice because we don't have great mag size. But overall, it's a little bit more consistent, and that gun damage is going to give us more damage on our Minesweepers, which is what we're proccing when we're doing our crit damage. Experimental munitions, whenever we score a critical hit. This recently got buffed. We can get plus 15% bonus incendiary damage. We're aiming for crits. We're always going for crits. This is just a plus 15% incendiary on top of everything else, which is great. Lastly, Green Tree, Cloud of Lead, bonus incendiary, and Stoke the Embers, plus 30% incendiary damage. Cloud of Lead with Stoke the Embers, with experimental munitions, with Fire in the Skag Den gives us a lot of incendiary damage. Redistribution, we need. It's going to give us ammo regen and health regen. That's why we want the 1, because we're going to get plus 5% of our missing health per second, which is very, very nice to have. It can keep you from dying in certain situations. Scrappy, weapon handling, weapon swap speed, mode swap speed recently got buffed to give us plus 30% weapon damage. We are going full out on the damage. I'll explain why we're not going magazine size in a second. Next up, Scorching RPMs. We're aiming for crits. It's going to increase our crit damage and our fire rate, which is awesome. Rushing Offensive. If you are in trouble, you can just sprint. When you sprint, if you've got Minesweepers proccing, they will heal you. And the damage from 8% of the damage that we're doing is basically an insta full heal. So super, super nice skill to get. A little bit annoying that you have to sprint, but you know, it's what it is. Okay, next up, Click Click. Click Click got a huge buff. This is 60% gun damage. Now, the reason we're not going into match set, the reason we're not going Iron Bank, the reason we're not going Forge is because we will actually get down to Click Click. You will be reloading on this build. This isn't an infinite ammo Moze build. I do like infinite ammo Moze builds, but we're going to get a lot more damage out of this because with redistribution, with Cloud of Lead, and with Fire in the Skagden, we are able to hover a little bit at our lower magazine size and get a great use out of Click Click because we're actually going to be able to benefit from 60% gun damage, which is insane. Plus, if you want to use a Yellow Cake, the Yellow Cake is going to get to overheat very quickly, and 60% increased damage on a Yellow Cake is bananas. Lastly, Some for the Road, our bossing tool. When we jump out with Some for the Road, we can spam the Sandhawk. Honestly, most Mayhem 10 enemies are only going to take a few hits from the Sandhawk. Most trash enemies on this build will get one-tapped by it, and most bosses will get killed by like a few shots. It's crazy. Your Sandhawk is going to proc a Minesweeper grenade. Those Minesweeper grenades will eliminate anything that you're looking at. Now, there is the issue of killing yourself with this build. Not gonna lie, it is possible to kill yourself with this build. It's an issue that Moze has. The best thing is just to play smart. If you're having any difficulty with survivability, you could put on a Transformer. I mainly use the Old God. And if you're having trouble mobbing, you can put on the Sapper class mod. But if you play it smart, if you hit your crits, you're going to be proccing tons of Minesweepers. You're going to be killing most things before they can even kill you. You've got crazy area of effect damage. And overall, this build works extremely well. In terms of Iron Bear, Iron Bear can't do damage anymore, unfortunately. It's the sad truth. So we're going Target Softening and Vanquisher Rocket Pods. We don't need Stainless Steel Bear because we're not going Short Fuse. Now, real quick, I am using a Pearl. I switched the Pearl out with something like a Last Stand Auto Idol. Last Stand Auto Idol, for example, this one's going to give me magazine size, grenade damage, area of effect damage. This is amazing. It's going to give me survivability, and this is pretty much the best thing that you guys can be using. If you have something that's a Last Stand Auto Idol, it's the best thing for this build. It works amazingly well. If you don't, use the Pearl. The Pearl is going to give us a little bit more... it's a toss-up. The Pearl is great for doing a lot of damage, and the increased damage is going to help us scale our grenades. But the Last Stand Auto Idol, if you can get grenade damage, if you can get area effect damage, is going to give you crazy increased damage on your Minesweeper grenades. So if you can get something that's this good, use it. If not, if you don't have great artifacts, if you can get a Pearl, that's perfect. But the Last Stand Auto Idol and the Pearl are the two best in slot relics that you could use for this build. Last thing we need to touch on is our Mayhem modifiers. We are using More Than Okay Boomer. Grenade damage is increased by 25%. This is the best thing you guys can use. The grenade damage is going to scale your Minesweeper grenades, and that plus 25 is going to be an additional 25% grenade damage on top of the millions and millions of damage that it's already doing, and so that is the best thing. And then I use Buddy System. Or you can use the increased crit but less normal damage one as well if you prefer. Those are the things that I like to use. Guys, that is it for the build. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. If you guys like the build, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I've already gone over my time, so I'll catch you guys the next one. Peace.